As Jamaica approaches yet another pivotal election season, it is crucial for us to take a critical look at the major political forces that have shaped the country's past and will influence its future. Recently, we examined the troubling history of the People's National Party, or the PNP, shedding light on its detrimental impact on the nation's economy and political landscape. So in the interest of balance, it is only right that we now turn our attention to the Jamaica Labour Party, or the JLP. By exploring the JLP's controversial history, from its founding to its modern-day legacy, we can better understand the role it has played in shaping Jamaica's development and its ongoing efforts to steer the country towards progress and stability. If you find videos like these interesting or informative, you can give this video a thumbs up. If not, please be respectful about it. The founding of the Jamaica Labour Party. The Jamaica Labour Party was established on July 8, 1943 by Sir Alexander Bustamante, a charismatic and influential leader known for his passionate advocacy of labor rights. Born William Alexander Clark on February 24, 1884 in Hanover, Jamaica, Bustamante later changed his name to Alexander Bustamante. His leadership emerged from his involvement in the labor movement, where he fought for better wages and working conditions for the Jamaican working class. At its inception, the JLP represented a significant shift in Jamaica's political paradigm. Jamaica was still a British colony, heavily influenced by colonial rule and a political landscape dominated by a small elite. The majority of Jamaicans, particularly the working class, had little to no political representation or agency. Bustamante's mission was clear: to give the ordinary Jamaican a voice and to push for reforms that would ensure social justice, workers' rights, and eventually independence from Britain. The JLP thus emerged not merely as a political party, but as a movement for social equity, democracy, and national pride. Bustamante's imprisonment. Bustamante's imprisonment during the 1938 strikes is a significant event in Jamaican history. He was imprisoned for 17 months due to his outspoken defiance of both the colonial government and the business elites who opposed the labor movement. His leadership in advocating for better wages and working conditions for the working class led him to challenge the authority of the colonial powers. This act of defiance solidified his status as a champion of the people, as he stood firm in the face of oppression, earning widespread support from the laborers and ordinary Jamaicans. His time in prison further highlighted the lengths to which Bustamante was willing to go in his fight for social justice and labor rights, which would later lay the foundation for the Jamaica Labour Party and Jamaica's political future. Bustamante's imprisonment symbolized the struggle against colonial oppression and became a rallying point for the Jamaican populace. His unjust incarceration not only galvanized support for the JLP, but also drew attention to the broader issues of inequality and exploitation that permeated Jamaican society. Upon his release, Bustamante emerged as a national hero, embodying the aspirations and frustrations of the Jamaican working class, and fostering a sense of unity among desperate groups clamoring for change. Bustamante's vision for Jamaica. Bustamante envisioned a Jamaica where economic and political power would be shared among all its people, not just the elite. He believed that political independence was necessary, but it had to be accompanied by economic reform. The founding of the JLP was his response to this growing desire for political representation, equality, and national self-determination. The JLP was not just a political party. It represented a movement for change and hope for a brighter future for for Jamaica. In his vision, Bustamante sought to dismantle the structures of colonial governance that favored the wealthy few while neglecting the needs of the majority. He understood that true independence required a shift in power dynamics, allowing ordinary Jamaicans access to education, employment, and essential services. This holistic approach laid the groundwork for the party's subsequent policies and initiatives aimed at promoting social justice and economic empowerment. The historic 1944 general election. The JLP's first significant political victory came in 1944, during Jamaica's first general election under universal adult suffrage. Universal suffrage, introduced that year, was a monumental change for Jamaica, allowing all adults to vote regardless of property ownership, income, or social status. Previously, voting rights were restricted to the wealthy, disenfranchising the majority of Jamaicans, particularly the poor. Bustamante's JLP won the election by a landslide, securing 22 out of 32 seats in the House of Representatives. This victory marked a turning point in Jamaica's political history, as it was the first time the working class had a voice in governance. Under Bustamante's leadership, the JLP laid the groundwork for Jamaica's eventual independence from Britain in 1962, focusing on nation building and social development. The 1944 election was not merely a political victory, it was a triumph of the people, signaling a new era in which the voices of ordinary Jamaicans could no longer be silenced. The Bustamante era, leadership and legacy. The period known as the Bustamante era marks the time during which Sir Alexander Bustamante played a central role in shaping both the JLP and Jamaica. Bustamante's leadership was characterized by his firm stance on workers' rights, his populist appeal, and his ability to navigate the political landscape as Jamaica transitioned from colonial rule to independence. Bustamante served as the first Chief Minister of Jamaica, a role that allowed him to directly influence the country's development. His tenure focused heavily on improving conditions for workers, expanding social services, and addressing inequality in post-colonial society. His ability to resonate with the common man, combined with his pragmatic approach to governance, helped consolidate the JLP's power and legitimacy. While Bustamante's policies were instrumental in uplifting the working class, they were also characterized by a paternalistic approach. He often sought to protect the interests of the labor force, while maintaining stability within the existing capitalist framework. This balancing act, while beneficial in the short term, laid the foundation for debates regarding the extent of government intervention in the economy and social affairs. Jamaica's independence. One of the most significant achievements of Bustamante and the JLP was their role in Jamaica's march toward independence from Britain. The push for independence began in earnest in the 1950s, and Bustamante's leadership in these negotiations was crucial. While the PNP, under Norman Manley, also advocated for independence, Bustamante's influence ensured that the interests of Jamaica's working class were at the forefront of the discussions. Jamaica officially gained independence on August 6, 1962. In the elections that followed, the JLP under Bustamante's leadership won the majority, and he became the first Prime Minister of an independent Jamaica. His government prioritized nation building, focusing on infrastructure development, social services, and establishing Jamaica's place in the international community. This period saw the JLP's vision for a more equitable society began to take shape, albeit within the constraints of a post-colonial economy grappling with its legacy. During his tenure, Bustamante also focused on foreign relations, ensuring that Jamaica became a member of the United Nations and aligned itself with the other newly independent nations within the Commonwealth. His diplomatic efforts aimed to secure Jamaica's sovereignty on the global stage, fostering alliances that would benefit the nation economically and politically. Economic and social policies. Bustamante's economic policies were conservative, particularly when compared to the more socialist leanings of the PNP. He believed in maintaining a capitalist system while ensuring that workers were protected. Under his leadership, the government initiated several public works projects aimed at improving infrastructure and providing jobs. His administration also introduced programs to improve healthcare and education, although these were less far-reaching than those implemented by later governments. His focus on workers' rights remained a central part of his agenda, with his government passing labor laws that helped secure better wages and working conditions for Jamaicans. While his tenure was marked by occasional unrest, Bustamante's ability to address labor disputes helped maintain stability. However, it is essential to note that his government faced criticism for not fully addressing the systemic issues that persisted in society, such as poverty and racial inequality. Another side of Sir Alexander Bustamante. While Sir Alexander Bustamante is celebrated for his leadership, it's essential to recognize that his tenure was not without controversy. One of the most significant incidents was the 1963 Coral Gardens incident, where tensions between the Jamaican government and the Rastafarian community came to a head. After a violent clash between Rastafarians and police officers in Montego Bay, Bustamante, who was Prime Minister at the time, reportedly ordered the police to bring in Rastafarians, dead or alive. This order resulted in a brutal crackdown on Rastafarians across the island, with many subjected to police brutality, arrests, and a forced cutting of their dreadlocks. The event left a deep scar on the Rastafarian community, with ongoing demands for justice and apologies even decades later. The Coral Gardens incident exemplifies the complex dynamics of power, race, and governance in post-colonial Jamaica. Although Bustamante aimed to assert control and maintain order, the violent repercussions of his policies highlight the fragility of social cohesion and the need for more inclusive governance. The aftermath of this incident remains relevant, as it serves as a reminder of the ongoing struggles for recognition and justice faced by marginalized communities within Jamaica. The challenges of early governance. Despite the JLP's early success, the party faced significant challenges in its efforts to develop Jamaica's infrastructure and economy. World War II had left the global economy in ruins, and Jamaica, like many other colonies, was struggling to rebuild. Bustamante's administration sought to improve healthcare, education, and transportation, but the limitations of a colonial economy hampered progress. The shortage of resources and the slow recovery from the war meant that many of the promised reforms could not be fully realized, leading to frustration among the populace. Additionally, there were ongoing tensions between labor unions and the government, as the working class pushed for more significant changes to improve their conditions. The rise of the People's National Party. While the JLP was building its foundation, Bustamante's cousin, Norman Washington Manley, was building the People's National Party, which he founded in 1938. Norman Manley, a brilliant lawyer and a Rhodes Scholar, was a key figure in the push for universal adult suffrage and political reform in Jamaica. He represented a more socialist ideology compared to Bustamante's labor-focused policies. The rivalry between Bustamante and Manley, though familial, became a defining feature of Jamaica's political landscape. Both men played significant roles in the struggle for independence, but their approaches to governance and economic policy differed greatly. While Bustamante focused on labor rights and gradual reform, Manley sought to enact more comprehensive changes that would address the systemic inequalities presented in Jamaican society. The economic downturn under Michael Manley's leadership. The PNP under Michael Manley, Norman Manley's son, rose to power in the 1970s, promoting democratic socialism as the solution to Jamaica's economic woes. Michael Manley, often referred to as the champion of the poor, introduced the policies aimed at reducing inequality, nationalizing industries, and expanding social services, such as education and healthcare. However, despite his popularity among the working class, Michael Manley's socialist policies led to severe economic challenges. The nationalization of industries and government control of key sectors resulted in a loss of foreign investment, leading to capital flight. By the end of the 1970s, Jamaica was facing severe economic hardship, with skyrocketing inflation, high unemployment, and widespread shortages of basic goods. This period of economic mismanagement raised questions about the PNP's ability to govern effectively, and led many to reconsider their support for the party. The decline of the Jamaican economy. During the PNP's tenure in the 1970s, Jamaica's economy suffered immensely. Key industries such as bauxite mining, tourism, and agriculture, critical to the nation's economy, were adversely affected. The government's heavy borrowing led to a debt crisis, and by the late 1970s, Jamaica was on the verge of financial collapse. This period of economic turmoil set the stage for the JLP's return to power in 1980. The JLP's return under Edward Seaga. In 1980, the JLP, led by Edward Seaga, won a decisive victory, securing 51 out of 60 seats in Parliament. Seaga, who had served in various capacities within the JLP, including as Minister of Finance, inherited a country in dire economic straits. His administration faced the immediate task of rebuilding Jamaica's economy and restoring international confidence in the nation's leadership. Seaga's economic reforms. Seaga adopted a free market approach, moving away from Michael Manley's socialist policies. His government sought assistance from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, implementing austerity measures to stabilize the economy. Seaga also encouraged foreign investment, leading to significant infrastructure projects, including the construction of new highways, schools, and hospitals. Seaga's administration is credited with transforming Jamaica's economy during the 1980s. Under his leadership, inflation decreased, unemployment rates fell, and foreign investment returned. The Montego Bay Free Zone, for example, became a hub for manufacturing and tourism, contributing to the revitalization of the island's economy. However, these reforms came at a cost, as the austerity measures often meant cuts to social programs, leading to discontent among certain segments of the population. The return of the PNP and economic stagnation. Despite the gains made by Seaga's administration, the PNP returned to power in 1989 under Michael Manley and later under P.J. Patterson. The PNP's return brought a shift in economic policy, moving back to a more state-controlled economy, though not as far-reaching as Manley's socialist experiments of the 1970s. While the PNP government under Patterson emphasized infrastructure development and education reform, the country's economic growth stagnated during this period, with issues of rising crime, unemployment, and poverty continuing to plague the nation. Under Patterson's leadership, Jamaica struggled to achieve the levels of growth and foreign investment seen during Seaga's tenure. The high levels of public debt and the fiscal mismanagement contributed to a period of economic stagnation, and many of the gains made during the JLP's previous administrations were lost. The PNP also faced multiple accusations of corruption and mismanagement, further damaging its reputation and calling into question its commitment to the welfare of the Jamaican people. The JLP's continued legacy. Throughout the years, the JLP has remained a significant political force in Jamaica, continuing its legacy of advocating for economic development, political transparency, and workers' rights. The party's focus on pro-business policies, attracting foreign investment, and maintaining stability has helped guide Jamaica through various challenges. Recent JLP administrations, such as that of Andrew Holness, have emphasized economic reform, infrastructure development, and reducing public debt, building on the party's historic commitment to improving the lives of ordinary Jamaicans. Holness has also focused on addressing crime and poverty, while pushing for greater transparency in governance and maintaining strong relations with international partners. His government has been marked by efforts to modernize the economy and improve Jamaica's standing on the global stage. As Jamaica moves forward, the Jamaica Labour Party's enduring legacy is a reminder of the critical role it has played in shaping the nation's political and economic landscape. From its founding by Sir Alexander Bustamante to its modern leadership, the JLP continues to champion the values of social justice, economic reform, and national progress, striving to build a better future for all Jamaicans. So as the nation approaches another pivotal election, the JLP's history offers valuable insights into the complexities of governance and the ongoing challenges that Jamaica faces. Thank you for watching. Bless.